Welcome to this video. I am Sophia at CCHV. Bearing system is the heart of a DC fan, which, to a large extent, determines the fan lifespan. In the next few minutes, I will explain what the bearing types we have and how to get the right bearing when you choose a DC fan. At CCHV, there are two main bearing systems, hydraulic bearing and dual ball bearing. Our hydraulic bearing, also called rifle bearing, is upgraded type of common sleeve bearing. Next, I will analyze from the following 7 factors to offer you better understanding of the differences between hydraulic bearing and dual ball bearing. Now, we are going to compare the fan lifespan. Fan lifespan is the most fundamental difference between hydraulic bearing and dual ball bearing. According to L10 standard, we can see the lifespan of 2 types of bearings at different temperatures in left chart. From the chart, you can see the lifespan of dual ball bearing fan is twice at least than hydraulic bearing fan, and there will be 50% reduced with 10 degrees Celsius increase. Now, let's come to operating temperature comparing. From previous page, we can see when the fan operating temperature exceeds 70 degrees Celsius, the hydraulic bearing is not feasible. Therefore, operating temperature of hydraulic bearing fan is minus 40 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius, and dual ball bearing is minus 40 degrees Celsius to 85 degrees Celsius. If the fan operating temperature is higher than 40 degrees Celsius and long lifespan is required, dual ball bearing will be the good option. Now, let's come to fan noise comparing. We did some tests on the same mold and the same speed with 2 bearing types. As shown in the table on the left, when the fan works 2600 RPM, noise of hydraulic bearing fan is lower than dual ball bearing fan. With the speed going up, the noise gap becomes smaller and smaller. We can predict when the fan works under pretty high speed, hydraulic bearing fan doesn't get any advantage on noise issue. Now, let's come to fan mounting comparing. Fan mounting is another factor which will affect the fan lifespan, or even cause fan failure. Please note that impeller downward installation is not feasible for any type of sleeve bearing fan, including hydraulic bearing, only for dual ball bearing fan. Now, let's come to bearing friction comparing. Bearing is a component used to support, reduce friction, and bear load. It has surface, line, or point contact with other rotating parts, and friction is generated with the relative movement of the contact surface. Ball bearing is a type of point contact for less friction, however, hydraulic bearing is for line contact. Now, let's come to the lubricant comparing. The purpose to add lubricant for 2 types of bearing fan are different. From the previous page, we come to know hydraulic bearing fan is line contact, whose contact surface is quite large. Therefore, hydraulic bearing gets more friction and need lubricant to reduce it and prevent wear to the bearing surface. Dual ball bearing is point contact. The purpose to use lubricant is to prevent corrosion and ensure its smooth operation. Finally, let's come to cost comparing. Hydraulic bearing fan is much less expensive than dual ball bearing fan. This is because hydraulic bearings have simpler designs and require less precision in its manufacturing. However, dual ball bearing fan offers longer lifespans and higher reliability, which can ultimately result in cost savings in the long run. Therefore, it is important to carefully consider the cost-benefit analysis when choosing between these 2 types of bearing fan. Through the comparing of 7 factors, I hope you can get a clear picture how to choose the right bearing when you choose a DC fan for your application. If any more questions, please email or call us.